Three, two, one, go.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Now, Dice Tower Dish, and Above Board TV.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Buonocore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 298. And we are recording it on December 14th, 2023. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network, and I beat Tom Vassell at multiple games this week at the Dice Tower Winter Spectacular. My most massive win was against Tom, Camilla, and I think it was Roy in Aqua, a new game from the Op. And you know what Tom said about my win? The game is obviously broken, demeaning my victory. That's his true statement after the thing was over, of
I
course.
can say that I've play tested and developed on Aqua
Oh, did
because
you?
the designer is the designer of Heat, a really good friend of mine, Asger. And it is an amazing game. It is not broken. And
No, it isn't.
congratulations on your win.
It's great. It's actually, if not that I want to give a, I'll kind of giving a shout out to Asgard, kind of giving a shout out to the Op, but it's like if you like Cascadia, it's Cascadia Light.
Plus,
There's I'd say lighter because you're doing a lot of different things, but you are creating a tableau of hexagons, but you're then putting beautiful artwork, sea creatures on top, and then once you connect certain numbers, you put more on top of those. I really enjoyed it very much.
It's a multi-layer tile placement game. I thought it was amazing.
Multi-layer
what's
tile
wonderful
placement.
is it's the design team is a father-son team, which is really cool. So I got to meet those two, and the son is now, I think, about 8 or 9 years old. So
Very cool. So look at that. We gave a big shout out to the Op, Asgard, and Aqua coming soon. So Corey, in your life, it's just like you have a whirlwind of stuff that you do, and it's pretty fun and amazing. I think it's more fun than the stuff that I do, and we've got some new additions to my life that are going to come up in a second. But tell us about what's happening in the world of Corey Thompson.
Well, right now I'm in the studio in LA. I mean, all these walls and everything are our actual recording studio down in LA. And I'm getting ready for a big filming day on Friday. Today is Wednesday. So we're going to be filming a new bit, a Christmas bit with Isaac Childress about Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, and Buttons and Bugs. And that's going to be really fun. We're bringing Isaac down to LA. And also on Monday, so in about 4 or 5 days, I'm going to be filming with a certain famous Jersey boy. So a little clue there. It's not you, sir. It's
not me. I was not asked yet. When someday I'll be asked to come to the studio someday.
A certain comic loving, you might say, former clerk Jersey boy.
Oh, that's a big hint there. So if anybody knows famous Jersey people who are into comics and are major nerds, that's cool. That sounds good.
I'm very excited about it. So
what else?
As far as board games, I have actually been playing the heck out of 2 titles that I just want to give a shout out to. There's Flip Town, which is a flip and write game using normal poker cards. Every turn you flip 3 standard cards. One of them is you use for the suit, and that says which of the 4 areas of your roll and write are you filling in. One of them you use for the number, which is which spot in that area are you filling in. And the third card you use as a poker hand. And after 5 rounds of this, you have a 5-card poker hand, which gives you a bonus. You do this 3 times. It's straightforward. It's Western themed. It's just a wonderful flip and write. So Flip Town, absolutely amazing title.
Cool.
I've also been playing Forest Shuffle, which was a new release at Essen. And it's really the closest thing I can compare it to is Fantasy Realms, where you have a large deck of cards, and each card kind of specifically does things and combos with other cards to score points. But you're doing it in a forest. You lay down tree cards, and then each tree card can house 4 cards around it in a little pattern. more trees, more cards you can put out in your tableau, and then you just go for the most points by the end of the game. Fantastic, easy to grok, really nice title. So Forest Shuffle.
That sounds fantastic. Absolutely great. Over here at the Podfather of Gaming, as I just mentioned, I was at Dice Tower HQ for the Winter Spectacular, playing several excellent games with the team. Aqua, as I mentioned, Cthulhu Dark Providence. It's a new game from CMON that's coming out at the end of next year. It's a take on it's a new version of a Study in Emerald is basically what it is.
Wow. Okay.
That was great. And it was just great. I hadn't played Study in Emerald in so long. And this plays fast. The turns are quick. Really cool. Agree to Disagree, a party game, bunch of others. You can watch them all on the Dice Tower YouTube channel. The main reason I was there is that we were doing, John Hagmeyer, the chairman of the board of the World Series of Board Gaming, and we were there to do a promotion for the World Series of Board Gaming. We did a 45-minute explanation and live Q&A with about 500 plus people watching, asking us questions, but with us, of course, doing the main explanation so people understand what we're doing, and then taking the questions from the live audience. Just need to ensure that people get it. And the basic thing about the World Series is that even though, yes, it's a competitive environment, and you've got those 16 ring tournaments, which could lead you to a semifinals and a finals to win $25,000, there's so much else going on. There is going to be Phoenix tournaments now, second chance tournaments. So you can pay a little money if you win. Let's say got knocked out first round of Ticket to Ride, and you know you're the best Ticket to Ride player out there. You can put $25 more on the line, and if you win 2 games, you take home $200. So there'll be things like that going on. There's national championships that we did last year, and it can continue. Red Cathedral. DeVere is also bringing White Castle, which is their new game. They loved the response to Red Cathedral. Yeah, it really is. Dice Throne. And there's big prizes. Every one of the events that are run in the gaming events always have either a cash prize or a big prize package. And then, of course, if you don't want to compete or not compete all day, you can go into open gaming with the Dice Tower West Library, nightly entertainment, comedy, you have game shows, and all of Las Vegas, of course, to enjoy. So we wanted to make people understand this is not just a huge competitive event. It is a gamers mecca, a retreat for gamers to just hang out for 4 days and enjoy. We're even going to have a big announcement about some pre-World Series of Board Gaming events that are going to associate and be part of us. I can't mention those now because the ink hasn't dried on the contracts, but we're working on those. And
you need an LA film crew?
We might need an LA film. Call me. We got to talk about this. So right now, though, and the most important thing of this little spiel I'm going through here is that the tickets for the World Series of Board Gaming will never be more inexpensive, will never be cheaper than they are right now. If you go over to WSBG, World Series Board Gaming, Vegas.com, use code EARLYBIRD, you're going to get the best pricing, we promise, for the entire year. Sales of the tickets are running 2 times what they were last year. Our hotel block is running out on certain nights. So I want to make sure you guys get in. Of course, you don't have to stay in the hotel with us. You can stay at any hotel, but the hotel rooms are, when you figure out the number of what you're getting in the package, under $150 a night. And that is a great price for the Bally's Horseshoe Hotel Casino there in Vegas. You can stay out further, you spend a little less money, and then you drive in or something like that. So, but check out World Series Board Gaming Vegas, WSBGVegas.com, using Early Bird as your code, one word, and you will get the best pricing of the year. Do it before January 1st, because the pricing will go up after that. 4 weeks at home, Corey. I have 4 weeks to hopefully relax. And
have you ever been home for 4 weeks straight?
I have not been home for 4 weeks straight since sometime in the second quarter of this year. So it's been a while that I've been home, but I literally have so much stuff to catch up on, not only like home projects and hopefully trying to relax a little bit, but like an inbox full of stuff that's got to get processed and people to marry up people with and stuff. I am retired. I keep telling myself that, but I do try to help everybody else out. So
I think we have proof against that later.
yeah, I am retired, even though the next news item might make you think I'm not. But I will be dropping during the episode, during my little time home, I'll be dropping some content at the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel, some lost episodes of BGI. I'll be doing some new stuff like a top 10 games, and a bunch of stuff that are just, little clips of things like that I haven't just got a chance to throw up there on the channel. So go check that out. And if you subscribe, of course, you'll be notified when things drop. I hope you do. And that's it. So listen to the news that we're about to tell you as we go to the event deck. All right, Corey. What is this first news item? I never heard of these guys. What's going on here?
No. So apparently there was this company Z-Man or something.
There was a company named Z-Man Games that was started by a man named Zev Shlasinger. It was purchased by another company, and now it's part of Asmodee. And all of a sudden, rising from the ashes.
Z-Man Games. Z-Man Games founder Zev Shlasinger has teamed with fellow board game industry veterans, including Stronghold Games founder Stephen Buonocore, to launch a new publishing house called Play2Z.
Yes, indeed. So let's give some context here. So what's going on here is over the last, let's call it 4 months or so, a group of people got together to say, you know what? We've got this talent, Zev Shlasinger, who's been in the industry for 25 years. And WiZkids got out of the industry of making board games. And you know what? Zev says, why don't we start another publisher? And it was a long road to
Zev, of course, was head of acquisitions for WiZkids for many, many years.
He was there, right? So after he left the Z-Man Post, which was part of F2Z Games before it was sold over then to Asmodee, he then stayed. He was at WiZkids for a number of years, and then now that was 7 years he was there, and now with a bunch of others who are all veterans of the industry. We have come together to start this new company called Play2Z.
These must be really cool people.
I like to think that they are pretty cool people. I'm trying to actually open up the press release so I can mention everybody. But Corey, you know somebody that's very, very important on this in this company, right? Who's that?
Jeff Engelstein, who of course wrote the Encyclopedia of Gaming Mechanics with Isaac Shalev, and Isaac, he's a part of it. Very cool people. Very cool people.
Well, let's read some of the names here. So Zev Shlasinger is going to be the president and COO of this new company, Play2Z.
Yes,
I am a founder of the company as well. I will be the chairman of the board, and I'll explain that in a second. Jeff Engelstein, who you mentioned, Tim Metivier, who is the owner of the Meepleville Game Cafe and Dice Tower West Game Convention, part owner of that, with Dice Tower itself. Marcus Ross, game designer. Nicole Brady, who's on the Gamma board of directors and treasurer there. Scott Brady is a game designer. Ruel Gaviola, game media content creator. Jeff Anderson, BGG Con and BGG at Sea event organizer. You mentioned Isaac Shalev, game designer and book author. David Gordon, game designer, and Ryan Newmeyer, game media content creator. And there's others. Some people just didn't want their names mentioned, and that's fine in the press release that just came out. But the most important thing to mention here is that none of those people that I just mentioned are running this company. So I am still retired. I'm sorry. People out there are like saying Buonocore's out. He's going. No, I will be on the board of directors You meet quarterly. This is what old retired people do. They join boards of directors. They make investments in companies. Myself, Jeff Engelstein, Marcus Ross, Tim Metivier, and Zev also are on the board of directors. So we'll meet quarterly, in the beginning a little bit more, just to get everything going. But this is Zev's baby. We've all put money in and invested in this thing, but this is Zev's baby to run. It will sink or swim on his, leadership and work for the company. It's very exciting to just be part of that and to be an investor in it. And I guess one of the biggest things to mention is that, well, what's it going to be about? Well, the first game that we're doing will kind of set the stage, I think, for a lot of other stuff. And the first game we're doing is the company is bringing back Ascending Empires, which is a dexterity-based strategy game. Do you know of it?
It was a game originally done by Z-Man Games, and it had been announced that it was being looked at for a reprint with WiZkids, and Zev has taken it with him with the exit from WiZkids.
Exactly. So as Zev left WiZkids, he said, well, since you guys aren't going to do these games, may I bring them over, because I'm going to try to start a company. So as part of the whole, okay, we're going to start this new company, Zev already had a pocket full of games that he just had to re-sign the contracts, make sure that the designers were on board with a new company doing it instead, and they were all happy about it. So we've already got a bunch of games ready to go.
And I just want to restate that the split between WiZkids and Zev is very, very amiable. What 100%. It was WiZkids restructured that they're not bringing in new IPs and games, and Zev's entire job was acquisition of new games and IPs.
Exactly.
There was not a job. So they talked it out. Zev could have stayed, Zev could have left, and he decided what he actually loves to do is to find new games and publish new games. So that's the new company.
That is the new company. And just to tell people a little bit, if they don't know Ascending Empires or how this Ascending Empires Zenith Edition will differ from the original, Ascending Empires Zenith Edition is slated to launch on Kickstarter in Q1 2024, promising modular gameplay, more than 100 plastic miniatures, 2 neoprene play surfaces, and many minor updates to the original game. And you'll be able to play the game the way it was originally published, because there'll be a player board that'll show you just that portion, or you can play it with this is like a second edition of it. One of the complaints against the original was once you put the puzzle map together, then you flick and it would hit the little seam and your flick wouldn't work. Now, it's not about it's not a 100% dexterity. This is a 4X game that happens to have a dexterity element where you flick to go visit another star system. So there's just a little bit of that.
Of the old Disc Wars kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, right. So it's besides that portion, after that, it's a strategy game with a 4X. You got to the usual. You got to expand, explore, exploit, and then exterminate your rival competitors on the board. So the map is nice and smooth. You'll be able to do this. Very highly regarded game. So you'll be able to check out Ascending Empire Zenith Edition, and you can now go over to Kickstarter and get notified when it goes up. But the bottom line of this whole thing is I'm very proud to be part of this new company with some amazing people that are listed and who are part of the investors. Corey, you are an investor as well. So
I am.
You're an investor. We wanted to point that out as well. And it's going to be fun again. But this is Zev's baby. If anybody does want to, of course, submit new game designs, they can go over to play2zgames.com. That was the URL we got for the company, though the company is just Play2Z. Play2zgames.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter. You can then go and find out where to sign up for the Kickstarter. And of course, you can submit new games to the company. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about this as time goes on, without a doubt. So, Corey, what else do we have here? We have some bad news, sort of in the extended industry of Hasbro.
Yeah, people have been talking about this a lot. So Hasbro has laid off more workers. And for a while, we know that Hasbro's been going through restructuring and going through some layoffs. the news out of ICV2 is that Hasbro is beginning another round of layoffs that will amount to around 1,100 employees. CEO Chris Cox told employees in a memo at 4:30 p.m. on Monday, which was December 11th, I believe.
Yep. So they're just
Yeah.
basically having, they're going through the usual decline in sales. Most of this is coming from their mass side. Less of it's coming from the hobby side. In fact, they had reported that a lot of the Wizards of the Coast division, which is obviously their hobby stuff, had seen at least moderate increases over time.
Yeah.
But this is now restructuring the whole company to make it more lean, as one would say. And most recently, they lost $171 million, which is a lot of money, as one might know. The company has lost $428 million this year. So not insignificant numbers, but of course, we're talking about a approximately $15 billion company.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they had 800 layoffs in 2023. So altogether in the year, there were 2 layoff rounds up to about 2,000 people laid off.
Wow. Interesting. We'll be following up on that, of course. And now in a follow-up to a article that we talked about last episode and the episode before, we mentioned this a few times, a third New York City board game cafe is establishing another union. What's going on in New York? Are the work conditions so bad that they need unions so badly? Workers at New York City board game numbers, strength in numbers, baby. That's right. Workers at New York City board game cafe, the Brooklyn Strategist. This is a big, highly regarded store, have scored a landslide election victory to launch a union, the third New York City game store to do so within a month. Staff at the cafe attempted to unionize on November 1 by presenting a petition to owner John Freeman, citing their concerns with unfair compensation, lack of job security, and ineffective grievance procedures as their primary motivations for organizing. Freeman refused to recognize the petition, which was signed by more than 75% of the store's workers, leading staff to instead file for a union election with the National Labor Relations Board. That board was won by a landslide 17 votes to 1 yesterday. The election success means that Brooklyn Strategist has become the final shop in the family of gaming stores owned by John Freeman and Greg May to officially unionize. That's
so
pretty.
3 stores within the same owner, but we saw it coming.
I mean, it's certainly interesting that I mean, I don't know what's going on. I assume that it's they must be making minimum wage or something like that. But for everybody to immediately take a stand saying, well, we don't like what's going on here, let's all unionize. It's not an insignificant effort to go through this process, getting support, filing the papers and all that. So we're certainly going to see how this plays out, because I think this could only be an interesting trend to watch happening over time in the industry. I love the next story, Corey, that you put here. Why don't you go for it? Love this one. Can't tell you how much I love this.
So the U.S. Postal Service has announced Dungeons and Dragons postal stamps. And this is celebrating the 50th anniversary of D&D. So on November 30th, the U.S. Postal Service announced 4 new stamp subjects for 2024. This group, along with the stamps announced in October, make only a partial list, blah, blah, blah. And the first one is Dungeons and Dragons. This stamp release marks the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, described by its owners as the world's greatest role-playing game, become a cultural phenomenon. The pane of 20 stamps features 10 different designs that highlight characters, creatures, and encounters familiar to players of the game.
These stamps are beautiful. I mean, I'm just going to say,
they are gorgeous.
I'm looking at them and I'm like, these 10 stamps, maybe I should even share my screen. Maybe we should start doing that, like share our screen sometimes so that people who watch it can see this. But yeah, obviously you can find this pretty easily. These pictures, the artwork that they're using here is not just like, some poor pieces of art. Obviously, as you know, the D&D has had some unbelievable artwork over the course of time, and it's beautiful. Corey, what do you think of it?
Yeah.
Can you see this
They're
stuff?
absolutely gorgeous. The stamps are actually, the art is done by Greg Breeding, who's an art director for U.S. Postal Service. But they are magnificent. I see a purple worm. I see a labyrinth. I see characters and spells. They look so good.
So I just did
And the classic red dragon cover.
the classic is there. So I just did a screen share for those who are who watch the Podfather Gaming YouTube channel's version of the podcast. You'll be able to see this. It's a slightly low res. Sorry about that, because I didn't get a high res image, but really neat. So now I'm not a stamp collector. I'm not a philatelist.
Philatelist.
Yeah, I got it. I was making sure not to be confused with a numismaticist. What's that, Corey?
Coins.
There you go, baby. But I'm not one of those. But I would, and I don't use stamps all that often, but I'm going to buy some of these and just hopefully, and they're forever stamps.
Yeah.
Leave them in the house, and every time I need to mail something, boom. Hey,
there you go.
It'd be wonderful to get a D&D Red Dragon, stamped card from the Podfather. What do you think about that? I'm gonna start sending. I'll start sending you some stuff. How's that? All right.
Postcards
from all over the country. All right. Last thing we have here, Corey. Essen Spiel, Tokyo Game Market. They're looking to team up to promote each other's events. Wow, that's pretty divergent. Tokyo Game Market taking place in Japan, obviously, and Essen Spiel, the largest in the world. Tokyo Game Market, by the way, very significant. What do you know about this?
So this is a news story out of Board Game Wire, and it says Essenspiel Communications Director Robin DeClure told Board Game Wire the pair plan to collaborate at Nuremberg's Spielwarenmesse, the world's largest toy fair, in January, and again at Essenspiel 2024 next October. He said, quote, "We want to help each other promoting the shows, making them even more well-known in the respective communities. As we all think of games as a great way to bring cultures together, we also plan to work together and bring more Japanese games and exhibitors to Essen and games and exhibitors from Spiel to the Tokyo Game Market." The story goes on, and it's basically they want to cross-promote each other as much as possible. And this is fantastic. I know personally, people who attend Essenspiel are really drawn to the one hall, and specifically one corner of the hall, where there's a lot of imports from Japan, Korea, Taiwan, companies like Oink, Mandu, Itten. They're very hot at Essen, and I think this will only help bring more games into the industry, more exciting, newer, strange games into the industry, which we're all excited about.
Yeah, this is really cool. I'm going to go on record, which I think I've already stated, that most of the innovation in gaming right now is really coming out of Asia, and then even more specifically, but Asia in general. But Tokyo and Japan, that game fair. I mean, it's to the point where Zev mentioned, because Zev's got to put together a budget now, for where is he going to go? Where is he going to travel? The board of directors will not approve all of the, expenditures of going to all these conventions. No, of course they're going to go.
I'll approve it.
But yeah, but Zev is like, I think I might want to go to the Tokyo Game Fair because
definitely think he should.
It's huge. It's it's very hard for an English speaker to get around. Usually you bring somebody with you. You hire somebody that'll take you and do a lot of translations. Some of them speak English. Some people do not speak English who are at the Tokyo Game Market. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff, I think, that comes over this marketing team up, I think, is really what this is. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all the news we have for today. I think we need to go over to strategy and tactics. My voice is getting deeper and deeper, like every week, I think. And between doing this early in the morning and having sort of a hoarse throat and getting older, I'm getting very sultry.
Know what you're talking about.
I'm getting a very sultry voice. How you doing, Corey? Everything going well with you?
Hello.
Bum, 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 bum. Going to become the Barry White here of board gaming. Anyway, Esteban Vasquez from Chile. He's at XTEBAN. He says, hailing from Chile, I'm part of the burgeoning board game community. As an enthusiast and active participant in this sphere, what actions can I take to bolster the chances of locally developed games being chosen for international distribution? Well, that's actually a very interesting question. Do you think, Corey, that a member of the gaming community of a small game market can help get games designed in that market, in that group, promoted enough so they get picked up elsewhere? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Good answer.
The example that I bring up is Brazil. Right now, there's an absolute tremendous interest in the Brazilian game market. There are a number of designers in Brazil. There's a huge Brazilian game convention, and a lot of big publishers are going to that convention and looking for the new Brazilian designs. It's a hot grab right now. Portal Games has the board game Brazil Imperium from Zev Mendes. Arcane Wonders has World Wonders, which is from, again, Zev Mendes, a Brazilian designer. People are fishing that market, and I think it would be equally good to have the same thing happen in Chile.
But how do they go and promote it to get like publishers to take a look at those games, since it's such a small market?
I think attending the big conventions, attending Gen Con, attending Essen, and meeting with the publisher, showing the game, saying, here we go. We see it again and again, the Brazilian market, the Indian market, and to a lesser extent, like you said, the Asian market is becoming more mainstream, but there's still a lot of push to get games from the Asian market.
Sure. And always, I recommend to any game designer out there, and Esteban, hey, that means Stephen. Hey, Esteban, you should tell your local group of game designers, make sure you learn how to use Tabletop Simulator, TTS, implement your games on TTS as the way to show off games when you can't be at a convention. And let's face it, from Chile going to Gen Con or the Spiel, it's a rough thing.
Difficult.
It's going to be expensive and
also,
rough. So
make your sell sheets, make your PDF files, give them to everybody. If there happens to be a new board game publisher in town, send them a sell sheet.
Who could that be? A new board game publisher in town. The three things every designer must do with a game that they're serious about selling. You create a sell sheet. That's a one-page description of the game. There's a million examples out there. You create a video showing the game off. And if your English is not good enough or whatever, you're not good at it, get a friend to help you out. And
short to the point video.
Right. Short to the point video that explains what one does in this game, what one does on a turn, what's the purpose, how do I collect victory points or win the game. And then the third thing, implement it on TTS, Tabletop Simulator. This can end up getting you a lot of views, eyes, and people interested in your game. Esteban continues with, I manage a community-driven game library. That's cool. That lends board games and organizes related gatherings, both for free. Lately, however, our influence seems to have plateaued. Could you suggest strategies to rejuvenate public interest in board gaming? Are there innovative activities we could consider? Could you recommend recent or notable games that might add value to our existing collection? So this is obviously a deep and difficult question, because you're creating a community. You're trying to bring more people in. Obviously, some kind of, if there's game stores there, you want to obviously leverage them as a focal point of bringing people in. If people there use meetup.com, that's a very good place to find people with similar interests. You create, weekly events that every Wednesday night at this pub or game store or library, we're going to be playing board games. Come here, hang out with us. So it's a grassroots thing that is not easy to do. Corey, any other suggestions that you might have?
I would say reach out to local government as well. There's quite a few countries that have started up gaming conventions as a community service, and local government has helped with support or financial support, some money involved. When you have your convention, try to bring in draws. new games, but also contests, giveaways, play to wins, things that people get excited about.
Yeah, very, very good. If you can get people excited, then you'll get more people coming in. And as far as games, always side toward when you're bringing in new games to your library, always side toward the lighter games. Because once you give people that little bit of this, hey, look at this game, plays in 15 minutes. Then you get them drawn to the next level. You get them drawn to the, that's like a mini filler. They get them drawn to the filler. Then you get them to the super filler. And then you get them drawn to the bigger games, right? Once you get over an hour.
Don't start with Terraforming Mars.
Don't start, Gaia Project should not hit the table first. That's probably a bad idea.
Point Salad is a fantastic, anybody can play it. People love it. Sushi Go, light games with cute art that draw people in and nobody feels dumb. They just like to play it.
Great advice. What are some of your favorite, Esteban continues, what are some of your favorite board games originating from regions outside the traditionally dominant North America and Europe and other globally recognized major countries in game development? Well, Corey, I still credit you with what happened with Scout. You bought 100 copies from all over from Japan and just started handing them out, and Scout became a phenomenon for filler games. It's great. Other games like that came out recently, or are coming out. I've been talking up Kabanga by Amigo Games. You can't even get it yet in English, but the rules are so simple. You go online, you get the English.
That's a little bit of an odd one because I would kind of consider Germany as a traditionally dominant region,
true.
And it is an American designer.
True. That's not good. So that's not a good example for what he's asking.
Strange one.
Right. Other games from the game Pass that is was shown off at Essen, doesn't have an American, or it comes out of it's either Korea or Japan. Great ladder climbing, not to be confused with trick-taking card game. I was waiting for you to yell at me about that, but yes, that's a great one. Other
ladder climbing is a subset of trick taking.
There you go.
I want to throw a shout out there to the company Mandu Games out of Korea. Every one of their games is interesting and unique and weird and fantastic. Specifically, there's a game Reflecto, which is a 2-player Stratego-like game, but on your Stratego pieces, you have written in dry erase pen letters of a 5-letter word. And some of your pieces have mirrors. So if you move a piece in front of your opponents, you can see in the mirror what their letter is. These are the kind of interesting, creative, bizarre ideas that come out of some of these companies. They're just amazing.
Yeah. And like I said, some of the most amazing ones are coming out of the smaller markets right now.
Yeah, Empress 4 in Taiwan. There's so many good markets out there.
Yeah. Look toward the South Korean and Japanese markets right now for some really great innovation. Andres Silsons, he's from Latvia. Thank you, Andres. Is there a game mechanism that Ignacy as game designer and Steven as publisher try to avoid and ignore at all costs? You know what, Andres? I'm gonna put a little mark here to make sure that Ignacy is on this one. So I want to make sure that if he's called out, he should be here to help out with the question. Paul Marchbanks is another question for
Ignacy.
You know what? That guy Ignacy's really needs to show up for this show once in a while now. Okay.
Oh, it's true. We've got to fire him.
You know what? Maybe I'll promote you and make him the intern. What do you think?
I think that works. That's good.
It works.
He could get me my coffee.
Paul Marchbanks does ask us another question. He says, people say don't work in your hobby or your hobby becomes work. That's very interesting.
That's a good one.
I know that you all enjoy activities outside of board games like volleyball, space launches, beer drinking, travel. Okay, those last three were more for Steven. My question is, has working in the board game industry made you somewhat stressed and jaded about certain aspects of the hobby? Or do you still wake up every day just as excited about browsing BGG or researching new and interesting games to try as when you were all just getting started? Is there one game in particular that you don't like to play or think about anymore because of bad feedback or issues that were outside of your control while publishing? Very interesting question. I do not believe at all that my time in the board game industry, which continues in various ways, now mostly on the media side, right? I don't believe at all that it has jaded me. I mean, my issue with the board game industry is we tend to throw too much stuff out there. We should have to all try to focus on bringing out less games, great games. Having said that, I wake up when I want to do something fun. I look for that next fun game or bring out a classic in my collection. No, I'm not jaded, but then I do like to drink beer and then watch space launches and travel.
I've actually asked this exact question to a whole bunch of board game design.
Really?
On Dice Tower Dish, which is an interview blog.
Right.
And it's surprisingly how rare I have a designer say that they are tired of a game that they've designed. They'll still play. They still have fun with it. They still are excited to wake up every day. And myself, I've done some development and some repeated play testing. And for me, it's exciting to see where the game is going and how it's changed and how other people react to it. So no, I haven't become jaded on it either. I'm still absolutely fascinated by the news.
Very, very cool. And you're a crotchety old man. So if you're not jaded,
very much so. Curmudgeon, that's the word you're looking for.
Oh, a curmudgeon is like one of my favorite words. That's American for being Slavic. That's
terrible.
Ignacy is the first one to admit he is Slavic, very Slavic view, and he's a curmudgeon.
He's the youngest of the three of us,
and he's a crotchety old man. He is the youngest, and still acts
so funny.
He still acts that way. All right, everybody, let's now get over to playtesting. So, Corey, last week, I can't tell you how much I loved this question that you posed, and I haven't even looked to see what these answers are. So read the question, and then I'll start taking some. I'm sure this is going to be as controversial as it could be.
How do you store your board games? Horizontally, vertically, alphabetically, by color, by designer, by type, mechanic? And do you keep expansion boxes, or do you get rid of them and integrate the expansions in? I can tell you, I actually compiled the answers. If you want to know,
did you really?
I did.
Okay, well, we got to
call about this podcast.
We got to call out a few people, but tell me what this is going to be really interesting. What did you get out of this feedback?
I don't want to talk about it because I lost the argument.
Oh, well, so, of course you lost the argument because vertically is the only way to do it.
So, agreed, we don't have huge numbers, but I will tell you, vertical had 7 votes, horizontal had 5.
Oh, well, that's pretty close.
However, I don't care and any which way is fine got more votes than either.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I got here like Eric Loggenbach, who very big poster here. Thank you, Eric. I store some vertically and some horizontally. I store them by how they fit, and I keep some expansion boxes and put everything in the main box. And I keep some expansion boxes and put everything in the main box sometimes, also depending on how things fit. So, I mean, that's kind of a very good answer for me too. So almost all, I mean, this is going to be 95+% are going to be stored vertically, but a coffin box, right? The old coffin boxes from FFG. You're not storing that thing vertically, right? It's got to store flat. So anything that's long is got to be horizontal, and I will store like multiple large boxes, one on top of each other. So that's a good answer.
I mean, I really liked how much detail people went into, you know, it's the rational explanations and everything. So Peter Woken, good friend of the channel. Vertically, even though most of my components have shifted to the bottom of the box, that's my complaint with vertical storage, is everything falls to the bottom of the box and warps things. But Peter goes on to say, I think it's because it feels more like a bookshelf that way. Also, sometimes games with heavier components start to break the boxes if they're stacked on top of each other. Typically, I sort them by game weight, so party and intro games in the same area, midweight games together, and super crunchy games each hang out with each other. So that's kind of, now I want to throw out there that I've recently redone my gaming library at the Napa Valley House. So I have about 250 individual little Calyx cubes now in the library and going up.
How many?
And
Calyx cube, like so a 5x5 is 25. You have 200 total cubies now, cubbies?
About 250 cubbies.
Wow.
And Barry, my friend Barry, who does amazing things for me, has actually put little Velcro stickers on the cubes with engraved wooden signs that say co-op, more than 5-player, 2-player only, solo game. So we've got them organized by type of game as well.
Can I just go on record as saying Barry is a freak? I just want to say that to you. Okay. You understand?
An absolutely amazing freak.
He's an amazing
he does
freak.
Such incredible things.
He does.
Let's just say rolling library ladder. That is the top of the list.
That's pretty cool. So I have a couple of things here. First of all, Andres Silsons from Latvia also, he says, I store them randomly and chaotically. I love that. I mean, I just think that's lovely. I want to point out that you just said you have about 250 now cubbies, right?
Yeah.
So I am not, I'm far behind that because I refuse to add more space to my game library. It is that long wall. I actually have 5x5s. There's 125 plus 4 1x4s that I've taken things out. So if you just don't count, 5 1x4, so that's 20 more. Plus I put stuff on top of that. So
yeah,
I didn't mention that I just got in all of the Marvel Zombies stuff.
Me too.
All of it. And I did a little small video. And I took a couple of pictures of it. I'm going to post that over the next few days. And I said in that video, I'm neither proud nor smart with this purchase. Camilla from the Dice Tower, though, is said she wants to paint my Galactus. So I'm going to be meeting her.
Oh, that is awesome.
Going and we'll hang out. We're going to play some games, and I'm going to give her my Galactus to paint.
Why is she not painting my Galactus?
Because you live in a bad state, not near the wonderful Camilla. So sorry.
Well, you talked to me about that when your Galactus is floating in a hurricane.
So Corey,
I want to point out Yvonne Lemons because I really love this answer. Just the last one.
Yeah.
Yvonne says, by box facing, I prefer vertical placement, but only if the box art allows it. I love the idea that the box itself dictates how to face the box, vertical or horizontal. That's because that's bothered me at times too.
Yeah. I mean, you got, in the end, you're going to have, on some level, you're going to have a mishmash of the various ways of doing it.
Of course, you got to make it fit.
Yeah. At some point in my life, and I don't know when, I'm going to do a whole reorg, but it will remain vertical, but it will be more like what you have there now. Heavy games, party games, card games. I'm going to go through that, but I don't have the moments right now. Corey, you also asked, you're very good with questions. You think well on your feet. What's your next question, my friend? And I'm going to have to ask you to describe this better because I don't understand the question.
I must have gotten it from someone else. I mean, I see the words, but they don't make a logical sentence. How many board games are too many for a personal collection?
Yeah. What
I mean, I've heard of all these words, but together, this is just it's garbage. It makes no sense.
This doesn't make any sense.
How
many games are too many for a board game collection? What? Oh,
no. I mean,
so you're trying to say you think maybe people believe there's too many? Is that what you're saying?
I can't be. I don't know these people. This is insane.
So
I mean, I just got another house to store all the games.
That's just absolutely amazing, dude. That you actually really do. So I do have an answer that for me is once they stop in my, for me, this is a very personally, as a personal collection. I'm going to say my personal collection. Once they stop fitting in the designated space, you now have too much, and you should simply cull, put them in a nice box, and hand them to somebody else. Or if you have the time, energy, and you like the extra money, put them up on eBay, Board Game Geek, and all those kind of things. And don't try to get too much money for them. Just get rid of them, get a little more money, and maybe you can buy another game later on. So that's my answer. I have space, and this is where my games are going to go. I have increased that space a little bit by putting things on top of things. I'm not going any higher, and I got to do a culling very soon. So, Corey, what is really your answer?
Yeah, I plead the fifth.
Come on. Do you think there's an answer?
I don't have one. I don't think there's an answer. I'm currently at about 3,000 games, and there's room for more.
Okay, but so your answer is as long as you have room. Sounds like it.
Is that what you're saying?
That
is no.
No.
Even if there's no room. I mean, if it makes you happy and this is your collection, there is no limit for too many for a personal collection.
So I recently met a guy, and I apologize because I can't remember his name. I believe I met him at BoardGameGeek.con, Board Game Geek Con, and he told me that he backs like hundreds of Kickstarters, like constantly. Just he has storage units where he has put his games unopened still in the cartons, just storage units for all the games. He goes, and his reason was because he likes to help out the companies. That's very cool. But I don't know that I would want to have storage units where I'm paying for the storage fees for games that I'm just not going to obviously play. But I mean that's kind of
that
cool
far
thing.
distant. It's unlikely that you're going to play them. So I will put a caveat that enough games that you could feasibly grab and play any one of them. That's a rule for me.
Very, very cool. All right, so I have just created a thread because Corey is incapable of doing so in our guild.
Computers.
In our guild on Board Game Geek. So go find that thread for playtesting for this question and post your answer, and we'll talk about how everybody believes about, is there a top limit for personal collections? What? In the meantime, let's get to the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening, and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or you can now watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of this podcast, you can just ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, where we take your questions, or the playtesting segment, where we ask you questions, by going to the guild on Board Game Geek. Check out the websites, which are portalgamesus.com, the Podfather of Gaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, and play2zgames.com.
We are getting so many links in here.
How about that? And we're all over social media, so interact with us, please. On Facebook, please like our pages, /Board Games Insider, /Portal Games US, and /Podfather Gaming. There'll be a vanity link for Play to Z Games soon. Don't worry, it's not there yet. And on Twitter and Instagram, Portal Games US, Podfather Gaming, Dice Tower Dish, Dice Tower Now. We have established a Twitter account for Play to Z, but it's not going to be active quite yet, so stay tuned for that. And the active YouTube channels are Portal Games Movies, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. TikTok, Ignacy, Portal Games US. We can't wait to see you at a convention in 2024. Please find us. If you see us, come over and talk to us. We literally live for that interaction. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want your podcast edited by Joshua, reach out to him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And you need some great voice work done, reach out to Ray Greenlee to do your voiceover work. He does it for us. It's raygreenleevoiceover.com. So I see this thing down here in the special news, and it's like, it's got your name written all over it. Are you mentioning
Does.
something like of ultra significance right now?
Yeah, I've hinted at it already, and with the week delay, it's going to be hinted at more. But after nearly 3 years, I am going to be shutting down the Dice Tower Now podcast.
Oh,
I've been doing news for the Dice Tower for almost 8 years, and I've
wow.
been doing the podcast every week without missing one for almost 3. So the last episode of Dice Tower Now will be in January 9th. And it's been an absolutely amazing ride. It's really mixed feelings. It'll be weird not having a weekly schedule that I have to meet, but I'm pretty sad about it. This has been a pretty important thing for me for a very long time. So,
And I know I'm teasing you now, but this obviously had nothing to do with this show. I mean, we
no,
invited you, and
no.
we invited you because you're extremely conversational, extrremly knowledgeable about games, and great news
Oh,
person.
thanks.
No, you really are. Hopefully, this will be your news outlet going forward. Period. We
It's,
wish the Dice
yeah,
Tower
there's a
well.
huge number of reasons, and it's certainly not anything with this show. It's certainly not anything with the Dice Tower. Tom and I have had long discussions about this, and we are still on the best of terms. And I wish all the best to Dice Tower and their ongoing video news. It's just a matter of time and effort, really.
It is. I mean, you are a retired guy.
I know.
You're less retired than me, but you're a retired guy. And there's certain things certain ways of spending your time, and after a certain point, things become whatever, less fun, more work. So you want to
Yeah,
move on, and as simple as
I have
that,
about
right?
3,000 pages of script from Dice Tower
So
now.
think about. I mean,
It's
so
insane.
let's do so just to tell people about the amount of work that you do, and let's add in the amount of work that I do, and let's add in the amount of work
Yeah.
that Ignacy does, and our time. If we add all of the time it takes to do this show, and then you just tell us about the amount of time it does your show, I would venture a guess that it's about a 50-to-1 ratio. Like you spend an hour with me talking, and a few more. He's giving it up, and you spend.
This show is ridiculously fun.
Well, right, but
And
it's an hour of your time per week if we get to
yeah,
do it,
and
and
a
you.
little bit of prep in the beginning, but
Yeah,
really not, it's things I know about already and things that are notable and a
right.
little bit of writing. But the news on Dice Tower Now, that is hours and hours and hours of writing, editing, and researching.
Right, and you could literally do 50 hours of work in a given week. That's why I was saying like
Yeah,
50 times, which is incredible amount of time. And
it's pretty close.
thank you for doing it. I mean, I'm going to thank you just as a listener. And I'm sure Tom should be thanking you and the Dice Tower in general, but thank you for doing it over the years because it's been an incredible value add. But now anybody who's listening there, they can tune into Board Games Insider for the news and inside information. Not that
That's cheating, man.
we're not
Cheating.
pilfering the Dice Tower stuff. It's just like we will be hopefully a good news outlet because we are insiders, and everybody listening to us and listening to this long-winded speech, you are all our insiders. That's what we call you. You are the insiders now. So thank you, Corey, for that. And in the meantime, Podfather Gaming signing off. Corey, bye-bye. Say bye. Bye.
See y'all later.